Hi everyone and welcome to our garden. My name is Maude and Keith is my cool garden cat. You'll see him under my feet in just a second. This weekend we focused on refreshing our autumn decorations and putting up our Christmas decorations. Always try to use something fresh and foraged. One of the things that I like to do during the seasons is to replace the kind of front decorations, and I try to do that 4 times a year. And I also try to set myself little goals and obviously spend as little as money as possible. I feel like I overinvest in plants and other things that are in the garden, and so this is one of the areas that I think I can always set myself a challenge, do something a bit fun, and also hopefully not spend a lot of money. And that, my friends, means that I do a bit of foraging. So what you can see is I'm taking down the autumn decorations. Most everything that I used were where I was cutting back some kind of annuals and perennials, and they dried really lovely, and I used those for our autumn wreath. And we went and collected a bunch of things here and there. I've got some rose hips that we're using, some rhododendron, which is a really nice kind of fun foliage to use, and also lots of evergreen foliage too. So if you like holiday decorating and you like cats, then you probably want to follow along because you'll see a bit of both. Okay, so this is voiceover mod. There's a couple of things I want to explain. So the autumn wreath that we did was the base of it was made from a bunch of grasses that I had kind of cut back and kind of shaped into place. For the autumn kind of bounty forage, I wanted it to feel a bit wild, especially with some of the dried verbena bonariensis that was in it, and also some of the dried cryptomeria. And so what I want to do is kind of tie it back in place, because obviously it shrunk a little bit as it dried further. So you're seeing me twist the wire round. And the other thing that I'm doing is I will be taking my clippers and kind of tidying away the most unruly parts, so the ones that are sticking outside of the... Sorry, that was Keith meowing if you heard him. So you're seeing me grab my pruners, and I'm going to be cutting that back now. Snip, snip, snip. If you're saying that my pruners are stuck, yes, I need to sharpen those. So that's a task I'm going to be doing this autumn. Okay, now we've got that more or less cut into a circle, so I'm grabbing that sheet moss and kind of wrapping it into place. I had to do this quite quickly because I didn't want it to fall apart. It was quite fragile. So again, I'm taking the sheet moss and I'm starting to wrap it around the straw base, and then with that I'm kind of twining a very fine, thin wire around that sheet moss, and I'm hoping that this will give a bit more moisture retention to hopefully make some of the fresh things that we're putting inside this wreath last a little bit longer. This was a really fun experience here, and I was very, very tempted to just leave it as the sheet moss. I thought that was quite an effective wreath. It looked very simple, very pretty, but obviously I couldn't help myself. I had to go above and beyond, and I'm using the rhododendron cuttings. They're somewhat of a nuisance, and they kind of grow everywhere, so I've got plenty of that to spare, and I'm just tucking it in, loving how it's filling in the bottom of this section, and you can still see some of that sheet moss. And then behind that I'm tucking in some juniper cuttings and some broken branches of evergreen, just to kind of give a bit more kind of weight and I think maybe elegance to the sheet moss. And you can see I'm kind of tucking it in, and I've got a few loose pieces. I'll come in and prune those back. If you've never done a holiday wreath before, I'd really encourage you to try. There are pre-made bases that you can use, but with the foraging, it's kind of frees you up to just use whatever you have, and that's kind of a fun experience. I knew I wanted something red. I obviously, like most people, I like a lot of red during the Christmas period, and I managed to find these really nice fat rose hips. What's really cool about these is they were really big and sizable, and they had just the perfect accompaniment for this arrangement. And also, what's kind of fun, I'll notice when I do the rose hips and the berries in these wreaths that the birds kind of eat them throughout the winter. So, that's kind of fun too. It's very simple. It didn't take very many of them. And there we have it. Moving on to the railing, probably going about creating garland completely wrong. I think I've seen some people do it before where they tie it together, and I just kind of shoved it in, wrapped with wire, and shoved more stuff in. So it seems to work last season. So tried and tested. I'll keep doing it. And I'm just tucking it in. The banister probably isn't my favorite feature for the front. It came with the house, and one of the things that we did when we moved in is to just kind of paint it black. Obviously some of the paint is kind of tucking away, but I absolutely love how simple this railing is and how nice it looks when it's wrapped with greenery and garland. And again, you can see some more of those rhododendron florets, and I've got some ivy that I've woven through here, which was kind of a fun experiment to see if I would like that leaf texture, and I did. And I've also got some juniper, and I've also got some evergreen long stems that are kind of just poking out and about. One of the things that I've woven through this are a bunch of different pine cones. Some of them are cinnamon scented, and some of them are ones that I've kind of picked up around out and about. And some of them are really heavy, so getting them into the garland and also staying in situ was a little difficult, but managed to get that in. And Keith is there, wondering why I'm not paying him any attention. The other reason why I like using the fresh materials when I'm doing this is when I'm done or when the season's over, I don't feel like I've wasted anything, because the majority of the things that I've found are things that have been, kind of on the ground or was broken or what have you, and it's all organic matter. So what I'll do at the end of the season is I'll cut it back, chop it into tiny pieces, and just work it through the flower beds. So, enriching the flower beds and the plants, and I don't have to worry about having any of it taken away or, the plastics and stuff. So that's kind of a fun, fresh cleaning project in the new year. One of the nice things about using some of the larger pine cones in this is visually they went a lot further, so I didn't need as many of them to kind of get the vibe. Whereas it felt like if I had to use the small ones, it probably would have taken me forever. So even though they were harder to kind of get into the garland, I thought they added a nice touch. And the last thing that you're going to see me do towards the end, after I finish tucking in these pine cones, is to just tie a few bits of ribbon through. really liking this topiary swirl. I was going to print it back, but I think I'm going to leave it for now. I'm enjoying it. I've got a few other ones that are kind of tucked in that will eventually come out in a little bit more vibrancy. A couple of things that we did are the mums that were here with the galanzia. I think it's galanzia. I just cut it all back. It was still green across the bottom. If it comes back, it comes back. I'm not bothered. It was on clearance and it was a mum. But I've collected a bunch of pine cones and just piled it in. Hopefully that lasts. I think I did a decent job stacking. I mean, it's fairly windy right now and it's still going. And then on this side, we've got the Christmas, no, it's not a Christmas wreath. I guess it is now. This is the old wreath that I had for the door that I'd woven together. And I wanted something a little bit smaller. And I also thought that I was buying a Fatshedra, which is a cross between Hedra, which is ivy, and also Fatsia japonica. It was not. I got overexcited. It was £5, but I hate throwing away a plant, so I held onto it in a pot forever. It still didn't die, so I thought I'm gonna have to do something with it. And what I did was to take the old wreath down, stake it in place, and then wind this ivy through, and it's not really done much at all, apart from right now, and it's really coming in with this lovely variegated new growth. More pine cones. This little topiary, eventually the top and the bottom will fill out. I'm just going to let it do its thing for now. Really nice and lemon tinted and very clean. And then the wreath itself. So I've taken some sheet moss and I've wrapped it around the existing wreath base. You saw me cutting back everything and reusing. I make all of my wreaths from scratch every year. It's cheap. It's fulfilling, and I kind of like it. It's fun. So what I've used is I used some foraged rose hips. This is some rhododendron florets that I kind of tucked in, and then also a little bit of juniper and some evergreen. I'm not sure which one that one was, but I've made a really full, fun wreath, and then this is a bow that I salvaged from something last year. So I'm really, really happy with this project. I had a bit of fun doing it. It's always nice to kind of refresh the front. Long term, there's things that I want to do, and I'm just making the most with what I have. This needs to be shaped up. I might actually come out and do that. I'm going to leave it. I think I'm going to leave it. And pine cones showed you. And also, you know, the garlands. The garland is kind of wild. I've got a little bit of sheet moss. I've got some more of those florets. I've got some pine cones, some more evergreens, and I've just tied a little bit of ribbon just to give a little bit of color to the banister. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing what we got up today, and hopefully you are inspired to do something simple and fun and foraged for your holiday decorations. See you later.